To your heart, I want to share with you the kindness and the benevolence and the support that this entire universe is made in. May it penetrate you and enlivens you and give you light and presence in this very moment. I have to share with you a short presentation on emotional intelligence. We all exist in a vessel, in a physical body. But most people on the planet thinks that the edges of their skin is as far as they go, when in fact it's not true. Our emotions color what kind of experience we allow our consciousness to perceive. Okay? Now, most of us, and thank you, Reverend Beth, for inviting me, by the way. I truly appreciate this. Thank you, Celidia. Thank you, Diane, my adopted sister, for also encouraging me to come here. I just wanted to say that what happened with us is that when we have what I call positive emotions, we welcome it. Okay? When we feel joy, when we feel a sense of love towards somebody, when we feel a sense of happiness, and these are emotions that we welcome. But when we have so-called bad emotions, and we are now in, let's say, we feel that we're being victimized, okay? We feel where the outside is influencing us in a way that we are discontent and unhappy about. We have no way of processing it, because most of the time what we're trying to do is that we're trying to suppress it and deny it and push it out of the way, okay? This may not be the proper way to actually handle our emotions, because what are emotions to us? They are actually like food coloring that alter the way, or a filter that is in the lens of a light that changes your perception. Okay? Emotions are not necessarily actuality, but they are a filter through which you perceive your reality. Okay? How many times have we felt a very specific way, and then within a couple of days when we calm down our state, do we discover that, that emotion was uncalled for, right? All of us have been there. So the idea is to try to figure out how we can create emotional mastery. And I'm saying emotional mastery because emotional and mastery and emotional intelligence is about the management of emotion. Good or bad, you have to figure out a way to manage it. And if you can do that, your life will be more even-keeled, and you will be a better vessel to allow the God presence to inhabit you. Because until you do this, when you are in a so-called bad mood or you feel victimized, you cannot be a proper vessel. You cannot channel the Spirit of God. You cannot communicate in an appropriate way toward others. So, when you're having your moment, if you're like me, I close the door and plug the phone. I don't want to talk to no one. I can't counsel. I can't help. I'm inaccessible. I have to be in a better space so that I can actually begin to mentor, to try to help and share my love with others. So the interesting thing about emotions is for us to understand where it comes from. Short lesson on the actual physiognomy of our body. In the very center of our brain, right below the cerebellum, is the limbic system. It is the center of our emotion. Now, there exists a gland there that's called the hypothalamus, and it is actually the chemical factory of our entire body. Now, every time we have emotion, whether it is a positive emotion or a negative emotion, it is actually this organ begin to produce a chemical that are referred to by biologists as a peptide. It's a hormone. That hormone rushes in nanosecond and actually sends a key that locks into your cellular structure. All of we have 100 trillion, it changes all of them like in nanosecond, very powerful chemicals. And when it does this, it causes literally the vibration. The universe is created by frequencies and vibration. It changes the vibration of your cell, and it colors and alters your reality holographically. You feel a certain way. Okay? Now, very powerful. If it's positive, all of a sudden you have joy, and you want to share your joy with the world. You're happy, you want to share your happiness with the world. You feel love. There were moments when in my life where I have felt joy and or love, and the love is so profound that I've gone outside when I used to work in an office setting and hug everybody in my office. Because if I didn't do it, I would get sick. The love, my heart was so big that I had to go and embrace everyone and tell, not the small hug, but the long hug that God loves you, divinity blesses you, and and everyone. I did this, and it was always welcome because it was coming from a place that was so, everyone saw that I was being moved by God, right? And so when we have these positive emotions, terrific, because it's having a giant effect. It's actually being broadcast in the proper way. But when you have the negative emotions, it's a different story. You begin to recoil. You get shamed for even feeling this way. I don't like this feeling. I don't like what I'm feeling right now. So for us to understand this is to understand that there's a chemical that's being released. Every emotion has its own peptide, and it's being released, and the key goes into your cellular structure and it alters it. It changes it and it becomes something else, and that something else causes your cellular structure to change, and it becomes a different kind of filter. And it's that filter that we need to figure out exactly how to manage. Couple of clues to you to help you manage your emotions. Do not judge your emotion. Item number one. Whatever it is that you're feeling, stop qualifying by saying it's bad or it is good. Okay? Remove the judgment out of the way. Just allow yourself and acknowledge first, what am I feeling right now? Okay? Now, it could be something positive, something negative. Most of the time, we feel it somewhere in our body. Okay? I feel it in my stomach. My stomach is rumbling. Okay? I am upset because my stomach, I feel what I'm feeling right here. Or I'm feeling it in my back. I'm feeling it in my arms, my shoulder. Sometimes we feel it slightly outside of our body. If you're intuitive and sensitive enough, you can feel it slightly outside of yourself. So the second thing, we have to identify where we're feeling it. Acknowledge it, do not deny it, do not push it away. The second thing you need to identify is to begin to ask yourself, now, is this the first time that I have ever felt this way? Okay? There's a reason for this. Because if you can actually remember yourself feeling this way before, it is most likely you are looping an old pattern, some old emotional pattern that is being repeated in your life, that is coming back, that is causing you to be triggered. The universe do not like stuck energy. Okay? When you have an unresolved feeling from your past, early childhood, or recent experiences that traumatized you in some ways that you have not addressed completely because the emotions have not been processed, okay, because you were pushing it away. What immediately happens is that the subconscious mind will bring other patterns of behavior from the external environment to reflect it back to you, to give you, and I see these as, for me anyway, as moment for me, the universe is trying to teach me something. There's nothing that's going to be bad about this. It may be uncomfortable. It may be difficult for me at the moment, but it is an opportunity. If you see your emotion, good or bad, as opportunity for you to expand your consciousness in the greater awareness of the divine, then there is no issue. You will actually welcome every emotion as an experience, a moment for you to begin to expand and grow into something much bigger, right? So I then begin to ask myself, have I experienced this in the past? And if I can qualify and say, yeah, I think I experienced this when I was the first time I felt this was about when I was 3, and I remember my dad was screaming and yelling, and I didn't feel good about this, and so I'm looping something, right? I'm looping something. So that part is extremely important. So if that is the case, what I'm experiencing outside right now, what I'm seeing as somebody, the big ogre that's coming toward me and yelling and screaming, right, in this example, it's not about that person. It's about resolving the original issue. I need to go at the roots. I need to solve that feeling first. Because if I solve it, the ogre will disappear. The universe is just reflecting stuck energy back to me. I need to figure out a way to unstuck myself. Okay? So, what I'm asking you to do at this point is to figure out if the emotion that I'm feeling, is it legitimate or is it illegitimate? Because it could be that when I check, no, I've never felt this way before. So whatever I'm experiencing right now, whatever the feeling is, good or bad, it's legitimate. I am legitimately feeling this for the first time. The other thing that I need to ask myself, what needs do I feel that I have not been met? Okay? What need do I have? Do I need to be nurtured or protected? Do I need somebody to defend me? What am I feeling? What need do I have right now? And if you can identify that, it can actually give you mastery. Now, the reason why I'm asking you to do this, it's because in order for you to manage your emotion, you have to have a conversation between the emotional center of your brain, the hypothalamus, and also the frontal lobe, which is your linear thinking. There has to be a dialogue or a bridge established between the two so that you can begin to manage your emotions. Because if you're not dialoguing, if you're not conversing back and forth and trying to sit down with yourself and saying, when was the first time I felt this? Okay? What need do I have that has not been met? You are not actually engaging the frontal lobe. You're allowing your emotions to rule you. There are times when you're feeling a certain way, and if you don't do this and you try to suppress the emotion, you will end up having 2 days, depending on how emotional that you are. You can have 2 days where you're completely uncomfortable, right? And you're carrying this heavy load. What is the rule again? What you resist persists, right? So the more you're pushing it, and instead of you trying to process it, and the more you push it, the bigger it becomes, the more dramatic it becomes, and the more it blows, it gets more intense. So I'm encouraging you to see these moments as opportunities for you to actually learn something, to evolve, to grow, right? The part that I have friends of mine that are highly connected to their emotional bodies. Okay? And they walk around saying, like it's a badge of pride, oh, I'm highly emotional. Well, I don't know if I would say that I'm very, if it was me, that would be a badge of pride. Being highly emotional means that you're highly reactive. But it doesn't say anything about you being proactive. In what way are you going to be proactive, and are you going to move forward and actually from the emotional center and say, I can master this and I can move beyond? For the individuals who are highly emotional, one of the things that I've noticed in teaching to other students and many places that I've been in doing workshops and presentations is that the way they try to handle emotions that they are feeling, if they have a bad emotion, they try to remember what it feels like to have the opposite emotion. Okay? And then they bring the two together. It is a difficult things to do because I have watched them. For somebody who's watching this, it's actually very painful. Because you're watching them going from 1 minute negative emotion, the next minute positive emotion. They are literally crying and laughing simultaneously. And to them, when I query them and ask them, so what? They would say to them, to me, I think I'm crazy because I'm feeling both things simultaneously. Right? It is not. It doesn't have to be this way. If you can begin to ask yourself these questions, you don't have to actually feel the opposite. You have to process the emotion that you have right now. You have to query and find out where the source of the issue is. If it's looping, if it's actually a legitimate issue that you're having, then you deal with the issue at hand. If in fact you're being victimized, then you need to react. What are you going to do? Are you going to stand up for yourself and try to face whatever threat that you're perceiving? Or are you going to back away and say, because there are choices, fight or flight. You can get up and say, I'm going to resist this invasion, or I'm going to just walk away. So you have choices, and you have to decide, and in that way you process the emotion rather than stay in a state of disempowerment, right? So for us moving forward, we have to figure out a way how to allow ourselves to become that clean vessel. Nothing and if you're able to do this, the more you practice this emotional intelligence techniques, those simple questions, if you ask yourself these questions and you try to process them, it will become easier for you to do on a daily basis. One of the challenges that I have, I've conducted class on emotional intelligence. I think the first time I did this out of New York in Long Island, I had a class that had 1 man in the midst of 20 people, right? And we did this, and what was interesting is that I had a 2-hour slot to teach the class. And as I taught the class, it was a 12-week ongoing class as I taught it, because we went through a whole gamut of different kind of emotion. And the way I did it is that I had all these YouTube clips that I would have people watch. And I would sit in a circle and ask them, after they watch the clip, how do you feel right now? We would pose these questions, and we had people react to it, right? And so the first 3 classes that I thought that I was the worst teacher in the world, because after 2 hours I left and everyone in the room were raw. They were completely, open and all kind of state, not feeling well, and I'm like, I gotta go. So I was teaching at the center on Long Island, and I called the director of the center. I said, listen, my time, if it's okay with everybody, I am extending the class to 3 hours, because I can't leave people this way. I feel like I'm the most horrible person on the planet. And I need to make sure that I'm giving people the opportunity to process what they're feeling. And not only did they welcome it, when I finished the 12-class series and I said to the group, okay, so what do you want me, if you want me, we're going to teach a different topic, because I teach here on a continual basis. They all said to me, no, we need another 12 session of the emotional intelligence, because we're not done. We just scratched the surface, and we like what we are finding. We like the fact that we're feeling better, that our lives, we are no longer stuck into this sea of emotion that we can process. So I taught another 12 session for this particular group. And what was interesting out of this is because there's only one gentleman that was involved, I actually am now putting together a series of classes to teach emotional intelligence to men, very specifically to men. Well, because we all feel, and men are taught to compartmentalize, to separate. And if you're feeling and the feeling is bothering you, it's very easy for us to move it, because our brains are wired differently, and we can do this much easier. But it doesn't mean that we are not stewing and we don't have the same discomfort. We are able to suppress better. So it's a matter of now trying to get men to be in touch with their feelings and their emotion. And shortly coming, before the end of the year, I'll be teaching the first series of classes on emotional intelligence for men. Okay, and I'm very excited about that. And I will, who knows where that is going to take me? But I feel it's like a calling, and I don't see anybody doing it.
Right.
I don't see anyone doing it. Okay. So to get ourselves to a point where I can actually conclude with you today, if you can answer these questions for yourself, and there's no wrong or right answer, the first thing you need to understand is that whatever you're feeling, there is no judgment, there's no right or wrong feeling. Whatever it is, it's an opportunity for you to expand your awareness about yourself. Your emotions are like food coloring or a filter on a light that changes your perception of reality. But it is not always actuality. Therefore, in order for you to, and you can do this very quickly. Sometimes you're driving and somebody crosses you and you go, ah! And I'm like, this is unkind. The thought I'm having is, and what am I feeling right now? Okay? And I go through the process of asking myself all these questions, right? And and the moment I engage in this self-examination, my attention is pulled away from the road rage. Okay? And I enter a different state. I don't need to go after them and flip them. I don't need to do this. I can drive and I can process things differently. All right? So my gift to you today is for you to be able to go out there into the world and just ask these simple questions as a means to allow you to process and deal with your emotions better. And if you're able to do this and to connect with your heart in a bigger way, you will be a cleaner and a more connected vessel to that love, that support, that benevolence that surround all of you. I thank you very much. Many blessings to you. Thank you. Thank you.